My oh my, Justin Baldoni's lawyers have now leaked the official footage of her alleged sexual harassment, and I now need this to go to trial.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, Hollywood's golden couple, have always been known for their playful jabs and picture-perfect marriage. But now, their image is taking a serious hit. The kind of scandal that makes you do a double take. It all started as a simple disagreement on a movie set. Nothing out of the ordinary in Hollywood. Except this one didn't just stay behind the scenes. Suddenly, what was once just an on-set dispute spiraled into a jaw-dropping $400 million lawsuit. And if that wasn't shocking enough, Blake's co-star, Justin Baldoni, found himself in the center of it all. But here's where things take a wild turn. Candace Owens, yes, the political commentator known for her unfiltered takes, decided to step in. And not just as a spectator. She's not only taking sides, she's leaking what she claims are text messages that could flip the entire narrative on its head. Now, this isn't just about a lawsuit anymore. The text supposedly exposed Blake Lively in a way that no one saw coming, suggesting she may have been trying to frame none other than Taylor Swift. The implications? Huge. If these messages are real, they could completely change the public's perception of Blake and her involvement in this messy situation. The question now is, what exactly do these texts say? And why would Candace Owens, of all people, have access to them? Candace Owens never shies away from controversy, but even she didn't expect to be pulled into a $400 million Hollywood lawsuit. At first, she was just another voice in the conversation, throwing in her usual sharp takes. But then, her name popped up in official court filings.
So the story goes, essentially, he says she didn't even read the book before signing on to the project. Then she read the book and kind of became consumed with it and wanted to basically introduce her own line.
And that's when things got serious. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' legal team wasn't amused by her involvement. According to them, Candace wasn't just commenting. She was actively spreading false narratives, shaping public opinion, and making an already messy situation even worse. That accusation alone was enough to turn heads. Owens, however, wasn't about to back down. Instead of being intimidated, she took the moment to poke fun at the whole ordeal. In true Candace fashion, she laughed it off, mocking the lawsuit and joking that she had finally made it, now that Hollywood A-listers are trying to take legal action against her. But behind the sarcasm, there was a clear message. She wasn't going anywhere. In fact, she was just getting started. And that's exactly what happened. Because shortly after, Candace did something no one expected. She dropped what she claimed were leaked text messages that could blow the entire case wide open. Candace Owens didn't just stop at mocking the lawsuit. She went straight for Blake Lively's credibility. And let's just say, she did not hold back. According to Owens, Blake wasn't just playing both sides. She was flat out contradicting herself in a way that couldn't be ignored. First, there was the issue of privacy. On one hand, Blake was allegedly leaking private messages to the media to control the public narrative. But on the other, she was demanding privacy in court, insisting that certain evidence be kept under wraps. Owens called that out immediately, questioning how someone could play the victim in public while working behind the scenes to suppress anything that might make them look bad. Then came the Taylor Swift angle, because, somehow, Taylor's name was being thrown into this mess. According to Blake's legal team, they needed a special protective order to keep certain evidence hidden. Their reasoning? It could allegedly involve third parties, including Taylor. But here's the catch. Swift isn't even directly involved in the lawsuit. So why bring her into it at all? Owens wasn't buying it. And in true Candace fashion, she turned the situation into a spectacle. With her signature sarcasm, she fired back at Blake's legal maneuvering, joking, "I worked hard for the Taylor Swift texts. I deserve them." It was clear. Owens wasn't just exposing what she saw as Blake's hypocrisy. She was demanding answers. And if the texts really existed, she wanted the world to see them. Then something unexpected happened. The media, which usually jumps to defend Hollywood's elite, started hesitating. Instead of blindly rallying behind Blake Lively, journalists and commentators began asking real questions. Why was she trying so hard to keep evidence hidden?
Person who wrote to me said that they worked on the set of It Ends With Us, okay? And that the villain in this entire story is not Blake Lively, it's not Justin Baldoni, but it is Ryan Reynolds.
Why drag Taylor Swift into this at all? The usual PR playbook wasn't working, and the cracks in Blake's carefully curated image were starting to show. Candace Owens wasted no time calling out what she saw as Hollywood's biggest fear: losing control of the narrative. She mocked the hypocrisy, pointing out that celebrities love to manipulate public perception, crafting whatever story suits them best. But the second things don't go their way, panic, desperation, damage control, and overdrive. And the public? They weren't letting this one slide. Social media exploded with speculation, and users began digging into Blake's past. What they found wasn't exactly flattering. A pattern started emerging, one where Blake often positioned herself as the victim whenever controversy came knocking. The shift in public sentiment was undeniable. People were starting to see through the act. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds, the king of witty comebacks and viral jokes, suddenly had nothing to say. No funny tweets, no cheeky Instagram posts, just radio silence. And in Hollywood, that kind of silence speaks volumes. If his PR team wasn't in full-blown crisis mode before, they definitely were now. Then came a major shakeup in court. Blake Lively's attempt to keep certain evidence sealed didn't get the immediate approval she was hoping for. That alone sent a strong message. Judges don't just deny these requests outright, but the hesitation was telling. It meant the court wasn't fully convinced that Blake had a legitimate reason to keep this information hidden. And that could change everything. Justin Baldoni's legal team wasted no time pouncing on that moment. Their argument was simple. If Blake had nothing to hide, why fight so hard to bury evidence? Why not just lay everything out and prove her innocence? It was a brutal but effective strategy. Because let's be honest, desperation to keep things secret almost always raises eyebrows. And then, as if this case wasn't messy enough,
Allegedly, don't gag order or sue me, Ryan Reynolds. Okay, I don't want to be involved in your drama. I'm just telling my audience what I was told. He goes into Blake Lively's trailer and they have an argument. All of the production assistants overheard the argument, okay?
A former associate of Blake, Lively, came forward, anonymously, of course. Their claim, this wasn't just about one lawsuit. According to them, Blake has spent years carefully curating her public image, using media connections to shape the way the world sees her. They described a pattern, controlling the narrative, playing the victim when necessary, and ensuring the press always worked in her favor. That bombshell only added fuel to the fire. If what this source was saying was true, then Blake's attempt to suppress evidence wasn't just about protecting herself in court. It was about protecting the perfect Hollywood persona she had spent years crafting. And if that image crumbled, she stood to lose a lot more than just this lawsuit. And just like that, the internet did what it does best. Within hours, memes flooded social media, hashtags took over timelines, and public pressure reached an all-time high. Hashtag Blake exposed and hashtag unseal the truth started trending, with thousands demanding transparency. People wanted answers. If there was nothing to hide, why was there such a desperate push to keep things buried? Candace Owens, of course, took full advantage of the moment. Love her or hate her, she knows how to capitalize on controversy. She leaned all the way into the chaos, using it to fuel her brand as the person who calls out Hollywood hypocrisy. Her audience grew, her influence expanded, and for better or worse, she became one of the loudest voices in the conversation. But beyond the memes and internet drama, there was something much bigger looming. The March 10th court hearing. This wasn't just another Hollywood scandal that would fade in a week. If the judge ruled in favor of unsealing those documents, Blake Lively's credibility could take a permanent hit. And once that kind of damage is done, there's no PR spin in the world that can fully undo it. Speculation ran wild. Would the truth finally come out? Would Blake be forced to face the consequences of whatever was in those messages? One thing was clear: Hollywood was watching. And so was the rest of the world. At the start of all this, Candace Owens was just another commentator throwing her opinion into the mix. But now, she's positioned herself as one of the most influential voices in this entire controversy. What started as her name being unexpectedly dragged into a lawsuit.
Narrator. She did not listen. She did not take my advice at all. I said that having read through Blake Lively's complaints, that it was evident to me that she was likely under the influence.
Turned into an opportunity. One she seized without hesitation, whether people agree with her or not. One thing is certain. She's made sure her voice is impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are staring down one of the biggest PR nightmares of their careers. Their carefully crafted public image, the playful, wholesome Hollywood power couple, is now under serious threat. And for the first time, their usual charm and humor aren't enough to defuse the situation. Because this time, people aren't just laughing along, they're asking questions. And they want real answers. But maybe the biggest shift here isn't just about one celebrity couple. It's about Hollywood itself. For years, the industry has relied on a tight grip over the media, controlling narratives, burying scandals, and making sure the public only sees what they're supposed to. But that grip is slipping. Independent voices, whether it's Candace Owens or the countless social media users dissecting every detail, are changing the game. The old rules don't apply anymore. And the impact of this case could go far beyond Blake and Ryan. If the court rules against keeping evidence sealed, it sets a precedent, one that makes it a lot harder for celebrities to hide behind legal loopholes and PR strategies. Privacy, media influence, public perception, everything could shift. So now, all eyes are on the next move. Will Blake Lively come out of this unscathed? Or is this the beginning of the end for the perfect Hollywood image she's spent years building? This is far from over. Candace Owens isn't backing down. The legal battle is heating up. And the pressure for transparency is only growing. With every new revelation, the stakes get higher. Not just for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, but for Hollywood itself. The usual PR tactics aren't working. And the world is watching to see if the truth will finally come out, or if another powerful celebrity will manage to bury the evidence and walk away unscathed. But what do you think? Is this just another Hollywood scandal? Or are we witnessing a real shift in how celebrity controversies unfold? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over.